tonight. A family in BC is thankful to find their missing daughter after days in the woods, while another family in Manitoba mourns for their son, who may have died from exposure.
It's called the Fire Keepers, water wizards, storytellers.
Why a wife and husband hip-hop duo wrote a song about Orange Shirt Day.
A lot of physical lifting, but it's also very much about the way we lift up our elders and support those people.
And we have a sneak peek of the new Indigenous choreographed ballet show making its big debut in New York City. Good evening, I'm Krisanachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. A community in northern Manitoba is in mourning today after a non-verbal 6-year-old child went missing last week and was found deceased over the weekend. Last Wednesday on September 18th, 6-year-old Johnson Redhead went missing in the Shamattawa First Nation after he went to his school's breakfast program but didn't show up to class after. A large-scale search began for 5 days, led by community members, Canadian Rangers, RCMP Search and Rescue, the Office of the Fire Commissioner, the Taskwayak, Mantosipi and Pimachikamak Cree Nations. A helicopter, a police search dog and infrared drones were also brought in to assist. Sadly, on Sunday at 7:45 p.m., with the use of a drone, Shamattawa RCMP were able to locate the 6-year-old who was found deceased in a marshy area just 3.5 kilometers west from his school. RCMP believe the boy may have died from exposure. An investigation is underway to determine whether any foul play was involved in his death. A candlelight vigil is now being organized for Johnson Redhead, and MKO is preparing to send a crisis team to the First Nation.
Yeah, this looks like to be an exposure-related fatality. We were fortunate there was no animals. Depending, like I say, we think he had been there for a few days. So we were fortunate there's no animals involved. And the main thing is we wanted to bring him home for his family, and at least that is done.
In a statement posted on Monday, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew said, "We extend our deepest condolences to the family and community mourning the loss of this little boy, taken far too soon. This unimaginable tragedy will be felt deeply by many, and our hearts are with you all during this difficult time." Meanwhile, the Flying Dust First Nation in Saskatchewan is trying to understand the sudden loss of a loved one over the weekend. According to RCMP, last Saturday in Meadow Lake at 4:15 a.m., an officer saw 2 people operating an ATV without wearing any helmets. The officer activated emergency lights and tried to stop the ATV, but it sped off down Highway 55 towards Flying Dust First Nation. The officer says he turned off his lights and did not pursue, but saw the ATV turn off the highway and hit the ditch. The officer responded and called EMS to try and save one person on scene who was unresponsive. Sadly, a 14-year-old female from Flying Dust was declared dead by EMS. The second occupant had minor injuries. Meadow Lake RCMP and the Saskatchewan Coroner Service are investigating. The community of South Bank near Burns Lake, BC is breathing a huge sigh of relief after a non-verbal 6-year-old girl who was missing for more than 3 days was found safe Sunday evening. This cell phone video caught the moment of when 6-year-old Oakland Schweeder was found safe and sound and back in the arms of her mother. The girl went missing from her home in South Bank, BC near Burns Lake on Thursday night. She was not wearing any shoes. RCMP say Schweeder was found in a forested area between her residence and the Skin Tie First Nation band office that was previously searched, leaving searchers to believe she was likely moving around. More than 600 people helped police with the search. The child had no visible injuries and is in good condition, but was taken to hospital as a precaution. Gail Skin, the mother of Oakland, took to Facebook to thank all the searchers and supporters.
I wanted to come on here and personally thank everyone, and that We're going to Burns Lake right now so she can get properly checked out. Oh my goodness, you guys. Oh, everyone was saying this is the day Oak was going to come back, and she came home. She came back.
Over the weekend, the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples and the Native Women's Association of Canada elected new faces. Brendan Moore will now head the organization as its national chief. He won in an election held by CAP on Friday. Moore was the chief of the New Brunswick Aboriginal Peoples Council. On Saturday, Josie Nipanak was elected president of NWAC. She has a 25-year career working in social justice and equality for Indigenous women. Nipanak is also the mother of the former Assembly of Manitoba Chief's Grand Chief, Derek Nipanak. Those flying from Winnipeg to Mantusipi Cree Nation in northern Manitoba will be greeted with a new sign at the Perimeter Aviation Terminal before they depart. Passengers will be reminded that they and their belongings may be searched after landing in an effort to stop the smuggling of drugs and alcohol into the designated dry reserve. A QR code on the sign directs passengers to the Mantusipi Intoxicants bylaw. In July, Mantusipi Cree Nation entered an agreement with the Manitoba Minister of Justice that allows their First Nation safety officers to enforce the ban at God's River Airport and other access points. Those caught transporting alcohol could be fined $2,500 under the Liquor, Gaming and Cannabis Control Act. The enforcement hopes to create a sense of safety and security in the community after a young mother died last year.
It's a testament for our community, for our leadership, that, you know, the safety is paramount for our community. We have lost lives that could have been prevented. And that's one of the things that, you know, our primary motivation in getting all that, the drugs and the alcohol not to be smuggled in. And we want to be able to tackle these drug traffickers in our community and the bootleggers. And most of all, the healing will begin for our community.
There's another candidate in the race for chief of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations in Saskatchewan. Third Vice Chief Ali Bear has announced her intent to unseat incumbent Bobby Cameron at this fall's election. Video journalist Rachel May has more.
I announce my candidacy today, September 23rd, 2024, to run for the chief of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations.
At Dakota Dunes on the Whitecap Dakota Nation, Ali Bear launched her campaign for chief to a room filled with supporters. Chief Matthew Pegan of the Pasqua First Nation not only supports Bear, but nominated her for this election. He says the FSIN needs new blood, and Bear has the passion and drive for long overdue changes.
Ms. Bear's compassion, her energy, you've observed that. And I've observed a number of people, and in her leadership role as a vice chief, she doesn't set the tone, but as chief, you can set the tone. And with her passion and her energy, I believe that tone that she will set with her vice chiefs, you know, would be a benefit to all the First Nations within the FSIN.
Dorothea Swift-Wolf, a missing persons liaison with the Saskatoon Police Service, is not a chief and doesn't have a vote, but she supports Bear.
If you've never been in a court at all and you don't understand the language that's used or why things are done this way, Ali was able to explain to our families, work with the families, and support our families.
Bear hopes to keep working with the RCMP to build Indigenous policing.
You know, I've also, worked very closely with the RCMP, with High Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore. We signed a memorandum of agreement together to enhance communications and to have a better oversight process into investigations.
When asked about current FSIN Chief Bobby Cameron's eligibility for the upcoming election, she said transparency is very important.
We need to abide by our own traditional protocols and values, and one of that's honesty and truth. And so I think that with honesty and truth, we can regain trust, and that's really important.
Regarding the FSIN audit, she has no information yet, but is expecting an update soon. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Always looking for your feedback on that story or any other story idea. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. A former chief of the Batchewana First Nation is being recognized. That story when we come back. Plus, why a husband and wife hip-hop duo wanted to write a song about Orange Shirt Day. We're back in about 3 minutes. Stick around.
I think Orange Shirt Day is going to be something you guys are really going to like.
Welcome back. As part of National Truth and Reconciliation Week, APTN is bringing you stories that reflect on the Indian residential school system. Today we highlight a husband and wife duo using hip-hop to talk about residential schools and their personal connection to the issue. With more, here is T.R. Wheatley.
Lisa Muswagon and Carmen Omisu, aka Hellenbach, have just dropped the single Orange Shirt Day. At one time, they both had separate careers. Now they've come together as the Resilience.
And the hook for it goes, my natives up like every day is Orange Shirt Day. You know, it's basically just aimed to be positive.
It's a real dark history, we know that. But at the same time, as Hellenbach says, we wanted to flip that, but also to like kind of explain the value of who we are as Indigenous people now. Like we know that it was our parents who went to the schools. You know, even us two going to day school, even our daughters in nursery and kindergarten, grade 1, and they've asked, you know, well, what was kindergarten and nursery like for you? And for us, it was like, well, I was in day school.
Being directly impacted by the system, both have always been on a journey of healing. Muswagans also recently helped with searches for unmarked graves at former residential school sites in northern Manitoba. Her husband, Hellenbach, beside her every step of the way.
I feel the body count will keep rising at every residential schools that keep piling. 215 is the number that started the revolution.
Even making this song not long after the news in Kamloops in summer 2022.
It already means a lot to Phyllis, who wore the orange shirt to school and got bullied for it, you know, and so thinking about that story, and then the Every Child Matters, and the, you know, the recent announcements too of, you know, anomalies.
Taken from the families, never had a choice or a voice, understand me please. It's what we try to heal from, intergenerational trauma I get tears from.
While the truth in telling Indigenous stories is at the forefront, Hellenbach says they are also breaking ground, changing how hip-hop is viewed.
We had to really break that stigma of everybody thinking that what we were doing was gangster and everything. That why are you trying to emulate black people? And when we go to the hip-hop shows, they would give it to us on that side, like, why are you guys not doing power music or this? So there was like, we always had to work harder. There's a lot of kids out there that don't listen to law, they don't listen to teachers, they don't listen to authority they don't even listen to elders, you know what I mean? But they listen to music.
My name is every day is Orange Shirt Day. Shutting down every system they put in place.
You know, I think Orange Shirt Day is going to be something you guys are really going to like. You know, I think it's phenomenal. Boogie Beats, Stanjati, Max 6. Can't get no better.
And it leads to like our full album that we're finishing. So
For all the hunters and natives who be fishing for dinners.
we wanted to make them impactful. We wanted to make the music like vibe. We wanted to include producers to support the message we wanted to send.
T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thank you, TR. And later this week on our noon newscast, we will welcome the Resilience into the studio to perform their song Orange Shirt Day. Make sure to keep watching for that performance. The Canadian Football League is commemorating Truth and Reconciliation Day. We'll show you how. Plus, our reporter Sarah Bettens gives us a behind-the-scenes look at new Indigenous choreographed ballet show. Stick around.
I'm honored that we have this opportunity to share this art on the world stage.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Following some rainfall in Winnipeg this past Friday, Ali Don stopped to snap this photo of the rainbow resting over the shopping mall. Hi, thank you for sending that in, Ali. Make sure to send us your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast.
Over on the East Coast, St. John's 14, Charlottetown 17. Cartwright 11, La Grande River 14, Saguenay 23, Gaspé 19, Peterborough 19, Toronto 20, Timmins 17, Sioux Lookout 19, God's Lake 16, Puckatawagan 14, 21 in Gimli, Dauphin 23, 25 in Yorkton, Saskatoon 25 as well. Stony Rapids 13, Buffalo Narrows 20. Rain in 22 in Fort McMurray, high level sunny in 20. Medicine Hat 30, Edmonton 25. Penticton 28, Campbell River 21. Fort Nelson 16, Dees Lake 12. Watson Lake 13, Mayo 11. Yellowknife 14, Wrigley 14. Sax Harbor 4, Colville Lake 9. Baker Lake 8, Chesterfield 8. And Iqaluit 8, Aglulik 3.
The Canadian Football League has released Indigenous design logos specific to each team to commemorate the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The 9 teams will wear the logos on jerseys designed by Indigenous artists during the Week 17 games. The CFL says the league continues its ongoing commitment to truth and reconciliation. The day is nationally observed on September 30th. A new ballet choreographed by Tla'amin Nation member Cameron Fraser Monroe will debut in New York City next week. Titled Shegatum, it tells the story of Tla'amin elder who learns to lean on his community in a time of need. APTN's Sarah Bettens chats with Fraser Monroe about the ballet and brings you a sneak peek from rehearsals.
We're here behind the scenes at the Royal Winnipeg Ballet, where dancers are busy rehearsing Cameron Fraser Monroe's new work, Shegatum, which is premiering in New York City. And today we have the pleasure of being joined by Cameron, who's a member of the Tla'amin First Nation in British Columbia. Cameron, would you mind just telling us a bit about the story behind this ballet?
Absolutely. So when I received this commission, I thought that the most important thing I could talk about in the moment was the way my elders in Tla'amin have a great resilience and strength behind them. There are 94-year-olds like Elder Elsie Paul who is still trying to chop her own firewood and is still very mobile. And I think that the reason behind this is that she has a wonderful community supporting her, and she's able to ask for help with the small tasks. So that's kind of what the work is about, is a dancer learning how to ask for help from his community.
Yeah, and I know this work is a partnership between, the RWB, the New York City Center, and the Bard Center for Indigenous Studies. I'm curious to know how this opportunity come about in the first place.
Yes, absolutely. And so it has come together very quickly. Normally commissions take years and years of planning, but New York City Center hosts Fall for Dance Festival every year, and they bring in some wonderful companies. And they reached out to the RWB to commission me to create a new work in partnership with the Bard Center for Indigenous Studies. So part of the event is a lecture and demonstration at Bard College, as well as a talkback in New York City. And we're taking this work down to premiere on September 26th. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, and so I know the meaning of Shegatum is to lift someone. I was curious to know, how do you kind of convey that through movement in this ballet?
Yes, it's to lift someone up, and it starts quite literally with someone standing on the shoulders of his community, and then he falls from his kind of peak of leadership and has to relearn how he negotiates those relationships and how he relates to the people around him. So, of course, there's a lot of physical lifting, but it's also very much about the way we lift up our elders and support those people, because they're not superhumans, they're people just like us as well.
Yeah, and I know the score for this ballet is composed by Jeremy Dutcher. I was curious to know, how did you work with him to convey this narrative through both movement and music?
That's right, and I'm super excited because Jeremy Dutcher's album just won the Polaris Prize, and he's the only individual in that awards history to have won it twice.
Jeremy Dutcher!
It's very exciting that we're taking that music to premiere this ballet in New York. So I didn't collaborate with him directly, but I did draw a lot of inspiration from that beautiful music, from that beautiful score, in order to tell this story. And in this case, the music actually came first. I heard that music and I knew I was going to have to choreograph to it, and I was saving it for the right opportunity, and I didn't have to wait long because this came up. And I'm, yeah, as I said, really excited to take Jeremy's work to Fall for Dance.
Mm-hmm. And I know you also have a background in grass and hoop dancing, and I'm curious to know, how do you incorporate those styles into your work?
Yeah, so like all artists, I'm influenced by my background and my upbringing, and for me that included Ukrainian dance and grass dance and hoop dance, as well as Coast Salish styles of dance. And then when I was 15, I moved here to the Royal Winnipeg Ballet, did my ballet training, worked as a contemporary dancer as well. And so I braid all of those influences into one movement vocabulary, and you see all of those influences present in the work.
Yeah, so you have less than a week till you and the dancers are all headed to New York City, but I'm curious to know, with this premiere, what do you want people to learn from this work and take away from this ballet?
Yeah, well, I'm honored that we have this opportunity to share this art on the world stage. I think that it's a huge opportunity to share other Indigenous artists as well as myself. So we mentioned Jeremy Dutcher, but we also have lighting design from Andy Morrow. So I just hope that we will be present on this world stage with companies like the Dutch National Ballet, Boston Ballet, of course, New York City Ballet, and to show them the excellence that all of our artists are cultivating in our own communities, and maybe to have an opportunity to share that in a wider form. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping they'll take away from it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with us, Cameron, and yeah, best of luck in New York, and back to you in studio.
Thank you, Sierra. And that's your evening newscast for this Monday, September 23rd. We hope all the school kids out there are getting settled in their classes and are completing their homework. From everyone at APTN National News and from our reporting staff across the country, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again. Ekse.